So, I was watching a video by Sargon of Akkad, in which he responded to this young woman having what could charitably be called a conversation with a group of people wearing MAGA hats. In the video, she asked the Trump supporters why they wear their hats when they know it's triggering to others and causes people to feel afraid. The Trump supporters pushed back on this, talking about facts and reason, and how she was only afraid because of the media political complex's propaganda and fake news. The woman then broke down crying in hysteria, saying that emotions are the only thing that's real, while paradoxically pleading with them, asking where she'd go for information, if not the corporatist mainstream media, suggesting that a world without knowledge is like living in darkness. I understand the pro-Trump position on this matter, the modernist position that says that facts don't care about your feelings. However, I'm also fluent in the postmodernist argument and have been trained in the use of the persuasion filter, and so I'm able to see something about this situation that it appears others are not. Many of you watching this are not going to like hearing this, but that woman in the video actually has a point, and it touches on something deep within the human psyche, even if she is incapable of expressing it in any coherent way. It's something Scott Adams has famously said time and time again, that facts matter to outcomes, but not to persuasion. From an evolutionary biology perspective, feelings are a deeper level of cognition, rooted in our lizard brains, that aid in our immediate survival. Our perception of the world is often flawed, with much of it based on pattern recognition and personal experience, trying to process whatever information we happen to have available at the time. Obviously, it'd be better for us in the end if we all tried to improve the accuracy of our data, but the world is complex, and we only have so much bandwidth to take it all in, and so much time in any given day to process any of it. Thus, our emotions, particularly trait neuroticism, evolved as a form of shortcut to err on the side of caution in the face of chaos and ignorance, so as to ensure our immediate survival, even if it comes at the cost of looking foolish. The example I often use is this. Supposing you're walking along a path and hear something rustle in the bushes. You look out and see something that you think looks like a snake, so you keep your distance. If it turns out to be merely a stick, the worst that occurs is you waste time looking paranoid. However, if you assumed it was a stick and it turned out to be a snake, the consequences for you could be much higher, up to and including your own death, and the ruin of those who depended on you for their own survival. This is really all just a simple form of game theory, calculating costs and benefits at an unconscious level. Obviously, the woman in the video was wrong to say that only emotion is real, but she's right in that it at least is real and does matter to persuasion, since, unless you're a psychopath, we all make decisions based on emotions, and then use facts to try and justify that decision. Her threat detection system is working properly. It was just fed bad inputs by the media to produce a wrong conclusion, and, as they say in the programming world, garbage in, garbage out. Despite agreeing with Donald Trump on many of his policies and strategies, it's for this reason of anti-persuasion that I don't often wear my own MAGA hat outside of pro-Trump events, and why I tend to be judicious in my use of such hashtags and icons online. It's because these symbols help reinforce a sense of tribal division, whereas my goal is to help bridge the gap between both sides. I understand there are people who suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, but you can't reach these neurotic, brainwashed people if all they see when they look at you is a Nazi. I know many of you don't consider the MAGA iconography as being anything other than a symbol of hope, and by all means you're free to believe and wear whatever you want. But in terms of persuasion, it comes across as tone-deaf, for the same reason you don't wear street clothes to a high-end job interview, or blast the lyrics to Down with the Sickness while driving in the car with your mom. It's called having tact. That just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should. Obviously, if you don't care what people think, feel free to carry on as you are. But if your goal is to reach people and influence their way of thinking, you have to take optics into account as well. If I said, 2 + 2 = 4, you fucking asshole, your mind can't help but ignore the part where I stated the fact that 2 + 2 = 4, and is instead hyper-focused on defending against the accusation of being called an asshole, something you know you're clearly not. Or, in this case, even if you proudly consider yourself an asshole, just substitute in something else you wouldn't want to be called, something that would really scare you, or piss you off to the point where you think the person you're talking to is crazy, hateful, and means to do you harm. Again, we evolved to err on the side of caution as a defense mechanism, and are a highly visual species, meaning that symbols hold power over us, and how we say things matters just as much as what we say. Feelings matter, and so do optics. Bad optics are why VidCon 2017 went the way it did, for instance, because people are hardwired for survival and won't listen to reason when they feel threatened or afraid. You have to calm them down first, like what Steven Crowder did in his Build the Wall segment of Change My Mind, wherein he stopped his routine and went out to talk to a bunch of protesters who were calling him a racist. By dealing with their emotions first and de-escalating their fear, he was then able to get many of them to open up to hearing his arguments. Granted, it's not like he'd made converts of them overnight, but it's a start, and is something to consider when you engage with people who disagree with you on this or any other topic. I know it sucks that this is the world we live in. I know there are many hysterical people in this world who are clearly misguided in feeling the way they do about a whole host of issues because they were given bad data and bad information by people looking to push ideologically driven narratives. That many are manipulated into believing falsehoods by the media political complex. But those of you who value facts should embrace the fact that feelings are the key to persuasion, and that you have to reach people where they are, not where you are or where you'd like them to be. Symbols only mean what we want them to mean, and that meaning can be good or bad, depending on how you frame things. Understanding how to apply pathos to your arguments will actually bolster them and make you more effective. Facts may not care about your feelings, but people do, and people will be more inclined to listen to your facts if they can first be made to believe that you care about them as human beings, since it's people that we're ultimately trying to persuade. Claim that high ground, and see if you don't start winning their hearts and minds.